excited to get started with this presentation here. Oh, let me go ahead and actually share that with you guys so that way you are able to see it. Let's do entire screen. Yeah. Okay. So you guys should be able to see a presentation. It's a Canvas slideshow, and I will be able to make this public for you guys so you guys can see this. Here we go. All right. So like I said, we have a lot to go over, so I am going to go pretty fast. The goals of this clinic, we're going to outline a step-by-step procedure on how to apply to a club, how to have good etiquette when applying to different clubs or teams, emphasize the importance of good, proper writing, share a lot of different tips that aren't really talked about, and then answer any questions that you guys have for interviews and applying to some other clubs you might be looking forward to. Okay, so the biggest thing about applications is your preparation should take as much time, if not more time, as actually writing the application itself. Okay, so the way you set yourself up for success is extremely important to ensure or even guarantee that you'll get into the club or team that you are applying for, right? So it even says at the bottom here, how you prepare is the number one factor that will determine your acceptance or rejection. And this clinic is going to be pretty much like talking about how to prepare yourself as well as talking about how to actually write certain essay responses, but we'll get to that. So whenever you're applying to a club, the first thing you want to do is research that club, really get to know that club, really understand that club. And then once you find out when the application's open, I recommend not actually writing your application right away, in the sense of like submitting it on the first day that it opens. I recommend that you draft it out on a separate notes document before you actually submit it, right? And then when you get to step number 3, you'll actually, write the application, fill out all the responses, proofread, and then edit. So really make sure you're using good grammar and punctuation and things to make sure you're getting your point across professionally. And then finally submit and wait patiently for results. So depending on how clubs will send out application results, they may give it to you pretty quick, or they may make you wait a little while. Either way, just wait patiently and make sure you have any ping notifications in that server for updates on whether applications are closing or if there's any changes, anything like that. All right, so application etiquette. This is something that is huge within the community, but it's not often talked about. It's not something that people really standardize or really put out there. So number 1 is apply to only one club at a time. Some clubs are okay with you applying to multiple groups, but most of the time we only want you to apply to one of us at a time. And the reason for that is because, let's say Emerald Hunters and PQL applications are open at the exact same time, and you apply to both of us, and we both accept you into the club, into our clubs. Well, then you're going to have to kind of make a choice, and had we not known that you had applied to the other club, we would have assumed you're going to be accepted, and we would have assumed that you're going to be a part of our club and not PQL, or vice versa. Nothing against PQL, I'm just saying two different names out there. But again, it's just out of respect for each other's time. Really make sure you're only choosing one club at a time, even if it means you have to wait a while for the next set of applications to open. Just please make sure you're only applying to one at a time. Number 2, don't apply because the club is popular or convenient. So the biggest thing with that is people will say, oh, I think you're really popular, I think you're really cool, and just kind of leave it at that. You should be joining clubs because you actually want to be a part of that environment, because you actually want to contribute to the goals of that club. Number 3 is tell the truth. We will find out about dishonesty. Club owners talk, and that, again, is not something owners will really say a lot, but we talk to each other. We find out if you were involved in anything. So please, if you have to tell us something about something that happened in a past club, be honest about it. It's okay. We would rather you be honest about a negative situation than be dishonest about it. Do not be in another club if you are trying to apply to one. Okay, so this is kind of going back to point number 1, is out of respect for the other clubs. We are assuming that you're going to stay in the club for an indefinite amount of time, but if we find out that you are still with us and applying somewhere else, it's kind of almost like a stab in the back. It's kind of a harsh thing for me to say, but that's, kind of the feeling that it is. It's like, why are you in our club if you're interested in somebody else? So that's that point. Research FAQs and basic information. Make sure you research the club so that way you're not asking questions that club has been asked 100 times. Right? So something like, when are applications opening? When are applications closing? What's the level requirement? What's your club horse? Most of the time, the club will already have answered that question over 100 times, and they're tired of answering those kind of questions. So please make sure you research and find out that information before you apply. Meeting requirements. So please make sure you meet requirements, because most of the time, if you are under the level requirement, or you don't have the horse, or you can't get the outfit, or whatever other requirements they have, if you don't meet those, the club will just basically reject you, because you're kind of, wasting their time almost by not meeting them where they're at. Okay, you have to meet the club where they're at, because they're not going to wait for you, basically, most of the time. Some clubs will be flexible and they'll say, yeah, that's fine. You can get this or do that during your trial period. But for the most part, you are more likely to be accepted to a club if you already if you already meet the requirements. Therefore, you just don't have to do too much extra work. So then finally, do not send troll or hate applications, but I also should mention, do not apply to a club just to stalk them either, because everything I say is out of experience or observation that I have seen in the community. Don't use the applications to send negative energy towards other people. Okay, so let's really talk about the importance of researching your clubs before you apply to them. So obviously, you need to make sure that you are able to meet their basic requirements, such as their age requirements, whether or not they use Discord, the horses that they use, or the disciplines that they offer. Number 2 is comparing club values and personality with who you are as a person. So if you just randomly apply to a club that turns out to be an 18 plus very mature adult type club, and you're not comfortable with that, then you've wasted their time and you have wasted your time by being in that club, because it's not an environment that you want to be in. So you really need to make sure that you know what you want and you are finding the clubs that meet you where you're at too. You should research clubs, because then you can actually see what the club actually does versus what they advertise. Ooh, very important, right? Because what we see on social media is one thing versus what you see during a practice is another thing. Most of the time, clubs are pretty honest about, what happens in the clubs, but at the same time, I'm sure you've seen clubs get exposed for bad behavior as well. I'm not naming any names, but that is the reality of the club environments that are out there. So getting some time to research and see what they're really about and understand the club, not just know them, but understand them, is really important as part of your research. Number 5 here is showing dedication and honesty. The fact that you look up things about the club, that you already know the answers to commonly asked questions, that stands out to a club owner or a club leader who's reading your application, because then they know that you took the time to dedicate to us rather than just looking around and just kind of skimming and briefly researching all of these clubs that you're interested in or anything like that. And then the last one here, this is respectful of the club's hard work. When we create a website, when we create Instagram posts or TikTok or YouTube or anything that we post online, Discord, it takes a long time for us to write and post that information and organize it in a way for our audience, potential applicants, to understand. So when you actually take the time to research all of the hard work that we did just to post that information and organize it, that's a really positive thing. So this is why it's so important to really research your clubs. So how do you actually gather research? What do you actually do? Well, the first thing is to write notes in a document. Start by writing down what you're looking for in a club, and then brainstorm any club names or accounts that match what you're looking for or that come to mind. And I have an example coming up later on. But another way that you can do this is by creating a Star Stable resume. So I actually do have a resume that I've specifically designed for Star Stable usage, but your resume should include these couple of things. So your achievements and experience, previous club history. So if you've been in a couple kind of bigger popular clubs, you can definitely put them down, and any references. So these are people that you've had a very good connection with and can personally vouch for you. So, for example, when you're looking for a club, you're going to want to consider your age range if you're comfortable with minors in the club, if you're only looking for an adult club, your time availability. If you are somebody who is pretty busy, then maybe you're going to look for a club that only requires you to be active once a week. Horses, right? Most clubs are going to ask you for at least one required horse, but sometimes they're going to ask you for a secondary, like a hangout horse or something. And figure out whether you're willing to buy extra horses for that club. Disciplines that interest you, right? So if you're a dressage rider, if you are looking for a racing club, a hangout club, Western club, make sure you know what you want. The server, right? So if you're on North American servers, making sure that you're comfortable with, moving around servers, or if there's any servers you want to avoid, like, we know that Nightstar and Hazy Galaxy tend to be pretty busy, so that's something to consider as well. Member counts. As a side note, give small clubs a try. Small clubs need members just as much as big clubs. So, take some time to research some of the smaller clubs and give them a try. But if you're looking for a highly competitive group to, really work on routines with versus a more of a startup group who's just starting out but still needs the members, that's important to consider as well. What kind of social or professional environment are you looking for? Are you looking for a laid-back environment where members are allowed to talk about whatever, they're allowed to cuss and swear, or are you looking for an environment that is a little more professional, where they are highly, highly organized, they have a lot of different pieces of information that you have to know, and there's nothing wrong with either type of club. I'm just saying that it's important to understand what sort of social environment you're looking for. And then, of course, your level, if you're level 24 or 25 or 17 or whatever, making sure you know what that club is looking for. So here's some examples, right? You might be looking for a certain age range, or what days of the week you're available, horses that you have. Let's see, the type of members, not including high ranks or anything like that. So just went through that very quickly. So when you're researching, research do's and don'ts. So definitely spend as much time as you can trying to get to know that club before you apply. So like, going into their open server and checking out all of their Instagram posts and things like that. Meet requirements as best as you can. Sometimes requirements can be posted in different places. Or sometimes information might not be updated on certain social media sites, so do the best you can. But again, apply only to one club at a time. So I think really the biggest thing I wanted to focus on was this side over here. Do not apply immediately when applications open. That's very much an opinion. You are allowed to, of course, apply when they first open, but I would take more time to really kind of research and draft your answers before you actually submit that application. Don't skim over social media platforms or other platforms where clubs put out their information. They're designed for a reason. They're designed to be enticing, number one, but number two is, they're supposed to be giving you information. So, take that time to read and understand what they're looking for. Don't lie or leave anything out about yourself. Please be honest. Again, we will find out eventually. I would say like 97% of the time we will find out if there is some sort of history that you have. And then kind of here as well, do not apply to clubs just to stalk or harass people. So, like, for example, if somebody leaves your club and they try to apply to another club, do not use an application to try to, like, warn people, like, this person is a bad person, or send hate to that club, like, you stole my member, or anything like that. So we definitely want to make sure that we are keeping a professional environment. Okay, so this is just a reiteration, but you are more likely going to be accepted if you already meet requirements. That's just an across the board thing. No matter where you go, if you already meet requirements, you are like more likely to be accepted versus somebody who is working on the requirements or somebody who does not meet requirements. Now, again, some clubs are flexible with this. You have to just double check to see what requirements are strict that you absolutely have to meet or requirements that you can work towards. So, for example, right, requirements are required for a reason. Please respect that, right? If we ask you to be level 17 or higher, it's for speed reasons. We need everybody to be as close as possible to the same speed so that players are not having to play major catch up when they're doing dressage. Point number 2 is working on certain requirements before applying can also demonstrate your dedication and drive to enter the club. So, like I said, it can be tricky to figure out which requirements are going to be strict and which ones are not. Most of the time, the age requirement, the level requirement, the horse requirement, and the minimum amount of activities, those are pretty strict. Versus something like how long you have to get the horse or anything like that, that is kind of semi-strict. Okay, so just, once you've done your research, it's okay to ask, right? To just double check. Okay, so what is it that you're actually supposed to be looking for when you are looking on social media? So the 4 main platforms that I recommend is Instagram, YouTube, Discord, and websites. You can also look at SSO chats to see kind of who they are online, when they're really in the game. But most of the time, social media is a lot more flexible with sharing information about themselves. So Instagram is a nice platform to kind of see what it's like on a day-to-day basis. What are you doing? Are you having an event with another club? Are you doing a collaboration? Are you doing routine filming? Are you just having a hangout session? You can also see whether the clubs that you're looking for support other clubs. Do they shout out clubs every once in a while, or are they just kind of by themselves? How active are they? Short-term interactions, so like if they're asking for polls or research or anything like that. Okay, YouTube is great for stuff like this. We're doing a big long clinic, and we are kind of filming for the long term, if that makes any sense. So like you can go back and watch a funny video that Saturn Mains did, or Rip Saturn Mains, sorry, but like watching behind the scenes videos, that can give you a lot of good insight as well. Discord. So here's where you get some real-time interaction. Really talking with the club, being active in their open server can help you kind of get to know you on a personal level versus the application is kind of more getting to know you on a professional level. Discord is a really good place for notifications as well. Kind of like, we're literally pinging you. We can't ping you on Instagram. We can't ping you on a YouTube channel. So it's a great place to get real-time notifications. Websites are also really good because that kind of gives you a sense of the what disciplines they have, what sort of information they're posting, and seeing also the consistency between platforms, right? If Discord says one thing, but then Instagram says another thing, and then YouTube says another thing, or your website, then, which platform are you supposed to really trust? So it's good to have research across several different platforms in order to see the consistency between them. So I keep saying consistency and things like that, but the three words of your social media research should be consistency, cleanliness, and charisma. So kind of going back here, right? Is the information being said on all of these platforms the exact same thing, right? If your website says the requirement is level 14, but then your Discord says level 17, which one are you supposed to believe? Cleanliness, right? Is the club visually enjoyable to look at from a social media perspective, right? So for example, if you're having all these crazy different fonts and all these crazy symbols and emojis and stuff like that, that can make it hard to read and not quite as approachable, versus maybe a club that's a little bit cleaner, has a nice color palette, very highly organized. Should be very, very easy to find the information that you're looking for. And then charisma. So what is it about their social media or their interactions online that gives them personality? What kind of personality you're looking for? Okay, moving on. I will take questions at the end, so if you have any questions, you can put them in the call chat right now, or you can, again, just leave them at the end. Okay, so essay questions. So these are the questions that are like, they want you to write out a longer answer, and I say yes, these are essays in big capital letters. And the reason why these should be treated as essay questions is that these are your first impressions of you to a club owner or club leader, whoever's reading your application. This is their first impression of you. So you want to stand out compared to other applicants. All of these other applicants are doing the exact same thing. They want to be in the club. They want to be in, I don't know, Terrific Tigers. They want to be in Sunforce. They want to be in Silver Sharks. You know, whatever club. But, you know, you are trying to beat the crowd kind of thing, right? You're the one that wants to get to the finish line just as much as everybody else, but you want to get there first kind of thing. Your work ethic should reflect in the application, right? So if you are putting in a lot of work on your application, that should reflect on your work ethic when you actually get into the club, right? So the types of essay questions you're going to get, the most common types you're going to get is about your past history, tell us about yourself, and why do you want to join. These are not meant to be difficult, but they can be, how should I say? It can be interesting to try to think about, what does the question actually mean? What are we actually asking you? Let me take a quick water break. Okay. So this is something that is not usually talked about. We can usually tell your age by the way that you write. So if you're writing with, you know, very long run-on sentences, or you're just rambling and not really answering the question, and you're just not, you're talking like you're texting somebody rather than writing a formal piece of work, you know, we can usually tell how old you are. So again, be honest, right? Lying or leaving out details or twisting information is not acceptable. Because, like I said, we can find out. You know, if you say that you were in this club, we will talk to that club owner and ask, like, hey, how was this member for you? And if that club owner says something different than what you say in your application, we're not going to accept you. Okay, number 3, absolutely no AI. We can tell if you're using AI as well. AI is such a big popular thing these days. And the reason we say no AI is because that's not you. That's not you writing your application. That is a program doing it for you, and that does not leave a good impression. We want to get to know you as a person, you on a professional level, and not you behind a computer screen. Okay, so no AI. Now, here's a small caveat. If you are in need of assistance with writing from a technological standpoint, like let's say you have a learning disability or some other disability or situation that prevents you from, you know, fully writing out, you know, your essay, you would need to communicate that with the club owner and be like, hey, you know, I need just a little bit of extra accommodation when writing this application. And most of the time, the club owners are going to be okay with that. As long as you communicate that with them, they'll be fine. But generally, you should not be going into ChatGPT and saying, here's the essay question prompt, please write an answer for me, and then just copying it and pasting it into your application. Because another thing we can tell is if you literally just copy and paste it and you don't, because ChatGPT will be like, okay, here is the answer to this question, and you leave that in your application, goodbye. Your application's honestly in the trash. So bit harsh of me to say it like that, but that's true. It's true. High quality writing is always better. So the more time you really take to explain your answers at length, but also still be clear about it, that's a good thing. Using good, proper spelling, grammar, and punctuation. You're not texting or just chatting on Discord with a club owner. You're choosing to dedicate your time to eventually and potentially be in that club. Be professional about it. Okay, answer the question and stay on topic. So one of the big things is that when you're writing a big long piece of work, sometimes the tendency is to start talking about things that don't actually answer the question. So for example, if you have the question, why do you want to join the club? And you start talking about how my bunny's favorite food is carrots, that has nothing to do with the question being asked. Like, that doesn't answer the question why you want to join the club. So make sure you stay on topic, and everything that you write within that question is actually, related to that question. So demonstrate what you understand about the club. So if you are able to point out highly specific things that you researched about the club that only applies to that club, that will really look positively in the club owner's eyes, because again, it shows you that you took the time to research and get to know them. So again, provide legitimate reasons why you want to join that club. It's not a popularity contest. So let's go ahead and move on here. Okay. So if you are asked about your past experience, this is kind of your bragging rights right here. Okay. So list as many clubs or teams that you have been in or currently are in. So you don't have to, like, if you've been playing Star Stable for like 10 years and you've been in a bunch of clubs and stuff, you don't need to tell them every single club, but mostly the clubs and teams that had the most impact on you, or the clubs and teams that you've been in within the last year or so. What skills or lessons did you pick up from those groups? All right. So if you, let's say, for example, your very first club taught you a lot of the fundamentals of dressage, you can go ahead and put that there. Like, you can tell them, hey, I got my start in dressage in this club. And then let's say you were in another club that unfortunately had some drama. Maybe you were involved in that drama, or you were a witness to that drama. What did you learn from that situation about how everybody handled it, how you reacted to that drama situation? So you are allowed to talk about stuff like that. But again, talk about it in sort of a positive way. What did you learn from that situation? How did you grow from that? If you are in any sort of routines, for like dressage clubs especially, let us know how you contributed to those routines. If you were a high rank in any of those clubs, like if you were a leader, like an instructor, especially if you were a moderator kind of thing. List outside but relevant information, such as being a content creator or a leader in another server. So in this case, the reason I put content creator is because, well, me, myself, I am a content creator, but being a content creator does have a lot of applications to being in a club. For example, time management is a big, huge thing, right? How do you organize your schedule and manage your time to participate in activities like that? And then being a leader in another server, so like let's say you are an instructor in the Dressage Academy. The Dressage Academy is like a partner server to SSD, and they are hosting a lot of lessons. So if you are a teacher there, that is relevant experience as well. And then listing any references who can vouch for you. So for example, if your last club that you were in, you had a really good positive relationship with your owner, see if you can just have their name and be like, hey, in my application, I can write, my past club owner's name was Bambi Pretty Love, and she, I don't know, she gave me all these awards within the club and things like that. If you'd like to talk to Bambi Pretty Love about my experience in PQL, go ahead, things like that. So why do you want to join? This is probably the most critical, the most important question. This is the make or break question on pretty much every application, in my opinion. All right, just letting you know, everything that we're saying here is pretty much an opinion. But It makes sense. I hope it makes sense. So, what does this question actually mean? What are we actually asking you? So, why did you choose us over another club? Why did you choose Terrific Tigers to apply to rather than Sea Vikings? Number 2, why do we stand out to you? Okay, what's so special about Silver Sharks compared to the Wolves Legacy? And let's see, number 3, how will we benefit you? What is so special about what's another club out there? Let me look. How can Crystal Pirates benefit you, like in your real world goals or your Star Stable goals? And then finally, the opposite is true. Number 4, how will you benefit? I'm trying to think of another club out there. I'm trying to scroll. How will you benefit Shadow Roses? Like, what are you bringing to the table for Shadow Roses? All right, so here are some responses that you can say. I believe the club, so like, and let's put a club name in here. I believe Emerald Hunters is unique for their education methods. You insert your reasons here. Number 2, trying to think of a Wicked Crows. Wicked Crows is a non-North American club. Wicked Crows will help me learn how to understand the meter system better, because I've always wanted to learn the meter system or something like that. Number 3, I am a shy but let's see, a personality trait. I don't know. I'm a shy yet very active person, and I think I could help. I could be a good fit for what's the next club? Let's see, Royal Regiment. They're actually a team. Okay, number 4, I want to participate in. Okay, list the activities you want to do. Well, I know for a fact that Terrific Tigers has a roleplay, realistic roleplay show team. I would like to participate in Panthera Stables, right? That's their roleplay team. Okay. So these are kind of like fill in the blank almost things, but it gives, again, specific reasons why you want to join. Like, really look into that club and name something specific that you can only say about PQL. What is something that you can say about PQL but you can't say about Terrific Tigers? What is something specific you can say about Red Cobras that you can't say about the Nightingale's house? Think about it like that. So then the last type of essay question is tell us about yourself. So in the tell us about yourself section, in my opinion, you should have 2 different parts of this answer. So talk about your Star Stable background, and then we'll get to the next slide, but talk about your personal background. So how long have you been playing Star Stable? Why did you start playing Star Stable? How you became interested in dressage, like, what's your background? Like, why did you start doing dressage? Things you like doing in SSO besides dressage, for example, like if you are interested in, you like creating fun outfits, or you like doing reshade photography, or you like collecting horses. And then any SSO related achievements and awards. So for example, me personally, I have been a guest clinician in a couple of different clubs. I was the owner of live dressage competitions. I'm an ambassador for whatever. So that's your Star Stable background. And then about yourself as a person, these are all sorts of different things that you can tell us about yourself that, again, it's also a gauge to see, who else likes these things that's already in the club. So anybody who's like already in Emerald Hunters, who likes musicals? Well, Ayla really likes musicals. We know that. Let's see. And then, sorry, I'm kind of going off on tangents here, but like, when you talk about these kind of things, again, it's trying to find like the people who are similar to you, and we're trying to find more people like us, right? So here, strengths and weaknesses. I did want to point this out. Anything that's about your personality or about your work ethic that you're trying to improve upon, that's related to the club. How can this club help me improve upon my time management? How can this club help me improve upon critical thinking? How can this club help me improve upon positivity or something like that, right? So let's see. That is okay. Yeah, so your application should leave a lasting impression of you and be unforgettable during the application cycle. Like the club should be able to point out and be like, yeah, that's the one. Like you are the one, you're joining us, kind of thing. And pretty much, like, if you really take all of these tips to heart and you really take the time to research and draft and proof everything that you have here, I am probably going to guarantee you that you'll be able to get immediately accepted into whatever club or team that you're interested in. All right, so I'll go ahead and come to the end here. All right, so I went very fast here. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the chat here and see if there's any questions. Yes, I'm eating. Preparing before an application opens. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going back to all questions that were asked a long time ago. Yes, absolutely. Your preparation, the way that you prepare to join a club will impact whether or not you will be accepted or rejected from that club. Okay. Yeah, and if any of the big beans want to share their application responses, they can totally do that. Okay, bye all. I didn't see you until now, but yes. Yes, Cheese mentions that big clubs do not always equal quality all the time. Yeah, so it can really depend on the situation. Like, if a club grows quickly and they're not very organized, how does that play into things versus a club that has really grown slowly over time and they've really developed strategies over time? That can be sort of a different environment. But that's not to say that a fast growing club is disorganized always, and that a slow growing club is disorganized either. So again, taking that time to really research the longevity of that club and what they do can really influence your what you say on your application. The thing is, you're trying to sell yourself. You're trying to market yourself to be enticing to that club owner, right? Because like I said, every club needs members, big and small. So everybody's trying to apply to clubs too. Everyone's looking for clubs, kind of thing. So you're trying to swim against the current. Okay, let's see. Yes, so Cheese put in her sample application for when she applied a long time ago. Let's kind of take a look at what she wrote, actually. And I do have a sample here as well. Yeah, Kathy's been here. You've been here for 100 years at this point, so... Okay. So let's see. Cheese started off by checking her daily schedule to make sure she can actually meet our time requirements, right? So her schedule is Mondays and Thursdays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. She has something different on these days. Okay. So it's good that she put that here because then we know, okay, we should not expect Cheese to be coming on Mondays and Thursdays, things like that. But she can still come on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays and still meet our requirements. Great. Next thing, past clubs. Okay, so she talked about Ice Mountain, Garden Racers, and okay, that's it. But still, she talked a lot about her experience within those clubs. Let's see, my first major club, after 2 months, I ranked up to instructor. Okay, so she has that background, which is great. Let's see, doing private lessons and higher levels. She was able to experience being a leader, being in the middle, and in the back of a line. Okay, so she had a lot of line work experience. That's great. Garden Racers, same kind of thing. Talking about experiences. It's important to also talk about why you left those clubs. So yeah, if there's drama in a club, let us know. It's okay. Like, if you were involved in that drama, let us know, but also let us know how you grew from that situation. And let's see, it's okay to leave clubs, you know what I mean? But don't twist the facts about leaving a club, especially if you were kicked out of a club versus leaving by yourself. We have, seen members that will say that they left the club, but in fact they were actually removed. So that's a very different story. Let's see. Yeah, she mentions, if she's been in any routines before. So why did she choose Emerald Hunters? Um, so she says you seem very nice, caring, and sweet. Let's see. Very calm and chill mood. Let's see. There's a lot here that I have to go quickly, but some very clear reasons. Like, look at this. This is a whole paragraph right here. Another paragraph. Another paragraph. So yeah, you should be writing a lot for your applications because there are going to be a lot of other people who are also applying. They're only just writing one sentence answers and not very detailed answers. A lot of clubs you go to, they're going to want detail, 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 detail. And the more you can do that, the easier it is for you to swim against the current, right? So again, really pointing out very highly specific things, right? Look at this. Cheese says, I've gotten to really know Viper from Discord and Beck. So the fact that you can point out very specific club members that you've gotten to know, that's a great thing. That means that you're actually active in the open server and you're paying attention to how they behave. Excuse me, I have to sneeze. Never mind, I guess. All right. So let's see. Yeah, tell us about you, right? So here she talked about her Star Stable background and her personal background. Let's see. I ride saddle seat. Let's see. I own a handful of pets. Let's see. I like to go hiking and do traveling and things like that. Well, guess what? If we find somebody else in our club who's just like you, then you'll immediately have a new friend in the club. That's great. Okay, let's see. Any other questions or context? Yep. So this is a great opportunity to let us know that, like, hey, I don't know, something like I am dyslexic or something. That's okay for you to tell us if you're comfortable sharing that. If you are comfortable sharing that, that is extremely helpful for club owners to know about if you have some sort of disability or extenuating circumstances that we would need to know about to help accommodate you in the club. So this would be a great opportunity for that. So thank you, Cheese, very much for sharing that sample application. Really appreciate it. Yes. So Space, you are creating a new club. So I hope this clinic kind of gives you some sort of guidelines of what sort of level of professionalism you're looking for in your applications. Right? Because this application is not just for people who are planning to apply. It's also a little bit for people who are owning clubs and, trying to elevate the standard of applications we're accepting. Okay. Yeah, I miss Viper. Viper was really fun to be with. Yes, Ayla mentions, going back to disabilities, please make sure you say something. As somebody with dyslexia, it can be hard to write a long application. Yeah. So, telling us, being upfront about that is really helpful because we don't necessarily know who you are until we get to your application. So it's like, why was this person writing such short answers, or why was this person using such poor grammar? If we know that they have a disability, then we could be, more forgiving about it. But if it's a situation where it's like, oh, they're just chatting like they're texting somebody and very informal and grammar is not great, spelling is not great or anything like that, most of the time we'll just think you're not giving a lot of effort. So, it's not a very healthy assumption, but at the same time, what other information do we have to go off of when we see something like that? It's difficult. So then Ayla also says, definitely take breaks. Yes, please take breaks. When you're writing an application, it's going to take a long time to write it, generally. You should be taking a good handful of time to write it, like an hour, maybe. Minimum, depending on how long the application form is itself. Really take some time to write it out. Take breaks. Maybe have someone by you and kind of proofread. Yeah, my mom helped me a lot with my application. Yeah, that's okay to have your parents help you with your application, right? A lot of the people that apply are still, under the age of 18, and that's okay. But the thing is, on the other hand of that, the extreme of that is don't have your parents write your application for you either. We've seen that. Okay, so then Ayla also says list any disabilities as well, just to let the club owner know that you have some accommodations. Yes, so Ayla says, as somebody with vision and hearing loss, Beck knows captions help a lot, and I need stuff repeated. Yes, exactly. So, on that sense too, it can be helpful to ask a club owner, how do you accommodate people with disabilities, or how do you accommodate people with extenuating circumstances? I'm not going to, share too many details, but, we've had to make, a good handful of adjustments to the things that we do, right? Really making sure our demonstrations are very clear. We have a very concise way of saying things sometimes. So just depending on what that person needs, it's helpful to know how the club themselves accommodates things like that. Yeah, the big beans, you guys are giving fire advice. I love that you guys are contributing to this clinic. Thank you to the big beans for your help here. And I know we can't really see it on the stream right now. Let's go ahead and actually scroll down here on the camera. But yes, Cheese says, also be understanding that to others who are going through things, there might be something that's going on. Yeah, exactly. As best as you can, the more you communicate with other club owners and, just be upfront with them about different things, the more likely they're going to help you and not just make assumptions about you. So, yeah, your application is your application is your first impression of you. It's your first time that they get to know you. Because another thing to think about is you can be in their open server, but you're not actually talking there and they don't really get to see you. And that's okay. We're not necessarily saying that you have to talk a lot in an open server as part of your research. I mean, it's helpful, but it's not any sort of requirement, but it's your application that's kind of like the first line of communication. That's, again, your first impression. Okay. Yeah, Space, you say, I want detailed applications because I want a successful club, but I want quality over quantity. Plus, my club is not yet released, and I have a whole document of my open server draft before I send it. Yes, yeah, that's great. Absolutely. Preparing your open server, that's amazing. Let's see. I've been asking a lot of help from lots of different people, and they encourage me to never give up, and I'm really committed to my club, Crystal Puppies. Oh, that's very fun. Yeah, definitely. It goes both ways if you think about it. The more that you prepare as a club owner, the more likely people are going to prepare for you as club applicants. I'm going to say that again. Let's preach that one to the choir. The more you prepare your club and really detail it out, the more likely applicants are going to reflect that. Love that, Sadie. I mean, Space. Your name is Sadie. My application writing took 3 to 4 business days. Yeah. Here's the thing. We're not asking you to dedicate your whole life to writing an application. We're just saying that the more you put into it, the more you are likely to get out of it. So think about it like that as well. Yes, Eclipse says, my biggest tip is just really show your personality, especially in the who you are section. Make your application unique. Don't copy and paste responses from a different application to another. If you get rejected and have the chance to reapply, always try to show improvement in your writing. Yes, we've had a handful of applicants who have reapplied multiple times, and the thing is, their application is brand new every time. We get to know something new about that person every reapply, and that's a good thing. That it tells us that they're taking the time to really understand what we're looking for, and really understand, what kind of person you are. And then Eclipse then continues, whether that be writing more or just being more specific in some details, it's always so nice to see people reapplying and making improvements on their application. Yes, absolutely. Let's see. Ayla says, make sure in your application write what's your best learning style, visual learner, auditory, or physical. Yeah, so that could be helpful if you're in a dressage club, because if you are very visual focused, you may need a lot of diagrams. You may need a lot of demonstrations. You may need live drawing of, what a set is supposed to look like. Animations, maybe. That can be helpful. If you need stuff explained to you a lot, or you need things to be rephrased, or even if, I don't do this very often, but we kind of take, sort of a musical approach. We make, rhymes and little phrases and things like that to kind of help you remember things like that. Let's see. And if you're a sort of a kinesthetic learner, right, where you need to be moving around, moving your whole body as part of a learning process, that could be very helpful to mention as well. Yes, don't stop because you're denied. Don't stop because you were denied. That doesn't always mean that the club does not like you. You may just not have given the right information for the club. Yes, exactly. So, for example, you may be rejected for some other reason other than your application just wasn't good enough. Most of the time, at least within the Emerald Hunters experience, the biggest reason we reject people is just because they don't meet requirements. It's not even that their essay was bad or anything. They were not high enough level, or they did not have the club horse and they couldn't get it in time, or they didn't have Discord or anything like that. Especially when we used to use Zoom as our voice commanding platform, we required people to use Zoom. So if they didn't have Zoom, they unfortunately could not be in the club. And that's one thing. And then the other half of the reasons why we don't accept people is, just because it wasn't detailed enough. Yeah. So again, it's not necessarily a personal attack. Some people, when they get rejected, I actually should have put this in the etiquette thing. Let's take a look back at etiquette. So what happens if you're rejected from a club? So let's write that down actually and add that to our notes. So if you're rejected, be professional and try to learn from that situation. So if you're rejected, how should I say? Be positive and professional. Because, unfortunately, you will probably run into situations where they will snap back at you. Like, oh, I should have gotten into this club, or you just don't like me, or this club sucks anyways, or anything like that. It's not unheard of to have people who are very upset about being rejected from a club. And especially if you put in a lot of hard work to write your application, and you get rejected, it can be, disheartening, Don't take it personally. It's not a personal thing. It could be a situation where they're just out of spots. Some clubs, what they'll do is they will have a limit on how many people they're accepting. They'll say oh, we're accepting about 10 people into the club, and your application maybe just didn't make it. For whatever reason, they chose someone else over you. And yeah, that's disheartening, but at the same time, be professional about it. Just wait until next time, or try a different club. Totally okay. Let's see. I'm going to continue. Yeah, Kathy says, I love when people show that they're involved. The fact that you're reapplying really shows that you're committed. And I also really appreciate being active on Discord and showing that you've done your research in general, because it tells me they will also be committed when you join the club. Yeah. So what Kathy just said, when you're doing a lot of preparation, you're doing a lot of behind the scenes work to write a really good application, and you're taking the time to write a really detailed application, you're actually creating a habit. You are creating a habit and a mindset for that club to be active there. Because when you kind of set the stage, you set the tone for just writing an application before you even get there, that is a really good thing in a club's eye, because that shows us that you're more likely to continue to put in the work for a long period of time. All of the members that are in this call right now, let's see. Let me take a look. Ayla definitely has been here for a year and a half. Kathy's been here pretty much almost day one for about 3 years. Cheese has been here, I think about a year. Eclipse has been here almost day one as well. She's been here for 3 years-ish. So pretty much like 90% of our members in Emerald Hunters have been here for over a year. And it's because of that application. That application is, again, it's the first impression, and that has lasted throughout their time in the club. Now, of course, that's not always a guarantee. Okay, I will be honest and say it's not a guarantee that, someone who really puts a good detailed application is going to stay for over a year. But as you can tell, like I just said, a good majority of our members have stayed in this club for over a year, many years, because it was that first step, it was that first application, that first time setting the habit, setting the tone for their work ethic. Okay, so yeah, 2 years. Yeah, Ayla. Awesome. Yeah, so I want to pull up this example here. Short applications are not always necessarily bad. It's just an issue where it's so short that it doesn't give you any usable information. So take a look. Why do you want, this is a sample, so why do you want to join Emerald Hunters? Right here, look at this. This is about a 5-paragraph essay, honestly. So you could write something like that, or something like this. Here's the alternate version, where it's a little more brief, but it still gives very specific details. Let's zoom in on this and really look at the details. Okay, so this person says, first, the Inside a Beginner Lesson tutorial video because of Beck's commanding style. This is a very, very highly specific thing, only applicable to Emerald Hunters. Okay, second reason, this person talked to Catherine Shortcloud, and we have a lot of the same passions and interests as members of the club. Great. Okay. The final reason, Beck put a lot of effort into creating dressage dictionaries and diagrams and teaching strategies, and I want to be a part of that, basically. So as long as the answers that you get are highly detailed and specific, it can still be short, right? This is just as acceptable of an answer as this. Okay. So it also does depend on the club that you're looking at, on what level of detail they're looking for. I mean, you should always be detailed for every club, but some clubs, they want you to be kind of quick and concise, versus other clubs, I will point out Sunforce, they want you to be very detailed. They want you to really be, taking some really good time on their applications. Versus Terrific Tigers, they want you to be concise. Still be specific in detail, but just be, concise about it. Don't go overboard. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, great advice, everybody. Yeah, exactly. Knowing people are willing to give a newer club a try could mean a lot. Exactly. And it's, part of that is your marketing strategy. How well do you market the fact that, you are a club worth applying for, right? Yeah, and some apps, like, think about it like this. Let's do this. So I'm gonna do. We're gonna highlight all of this in black. So just by looking at these two applications, actually no, let's do this one in a different color, but still like highlighted. Dark gray. Sure, no. Orange, I don't know. Whatever. So if you think about it like this, and sort of a skimming, if a club owner is skimming it, more likely an owner is going to look at the longer response, the bigger response, over the shorter response. But just again, it's also on the club owner or whoever is reading your application, it's also their responsibility to really read the detail. Okay. So, again, if we really look at the detail here, I noticed that Beck has a great commanding style. I like that commanding style is rhythmic, and Beck tries to make make her best to offer good feedback to the riders while also having fun with them. Right, so still detailed, just different ways of saying it. Long, short, concise, verbose. Either way, it's just as important for, for the club owners to respect your hard work that you put into writing the application. To an extent, of course. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Okay. So, we had a lot of information in that clinic. So, are there any final comments, questions, concerns, or anything that we'd like to discuss about at the very end of our clinic here? And while we're typing out, I just want to say one last thank you to all of our big beans that were here and all of our audience members who joined this clinic, and especially anyone who's going to be watching this clinic afterwards on YouTube, because I am filming this right now. Biggest thing, just be yourself and be honest. Yes, thank you, Ayla. That is really good advice. Yeah, really market yourself, who you really are. And we will recognize passion. We will recognize your dedication and your effort. Yeah, Jesus, going on the record. Well, cool. All right, so I will have links to this application sample document as well as the PowerPoint presentation that we had here today. So thank you again, everybody, for coming out to this clinic. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it really helps you, whether you're an owner or you are planning to apply to any other club or team. I also want to mention that Emerald Hunters, our applications are going to be opening tomorrow. So I am very excited to open our applications here. So I hope this clinic helps you apply to us, especially. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next event or clinic or lesson or wherever I will see you next. Bye, everybody. Thank you.